The black luxury car rolled into the repair shop just after sunrise on a bright summer morning. Its polished exterior reflected the golden daylight, but something about it felt strange. The woman who stepped out looked exhausted, as if she had been carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. She handed over the keys, signed a few papers, and left without even asking how long the repairs would take. For a vehicle worth more than most houses, her indifference was shocking. But what happened next would change 2 lives forever. Before we begin, if you believe kindness can change a person's destiny and that everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to Beyond Single Dad for more emotional stories that stay with you long after they end. Ethan Mercer had spent nearly 20 years working as a mechanic. At 38 years old, he knew engines better than most people knew their own families. Every bolt, every wire, every strange sound had a story to tell. His repair shop sat on the edge of a small Colorado town, where hard-working people came when they needed honest service. Life had not been easy for Ethan. After losing his wife to illness 5 years earlier, he had raised his young daughter, Nora, alone. Every day was a balancing act between paying bills, running the shop, and being the father his daughter deserved. The abandoned luxury sedan belonged to Serena Vale, the CEO of one of the fastest-growing technology companies in the country. Her name appeared regularly in business magazines and financial news reports. Yet Ethan knew nothing about corporate success stories. To him, she was simply another customer. When Ethan began inspecting the vehicle, he expected a routine repair. The car had electrical issues and a damaged suspension component. But while tracing a wiring problem beneath the rear seat, he discovered something unusual. Hidden behind a panel was a small leather folder covered in dust. It looked as though it had been forgotten for years. Normally, Ethan would have handed it directly to the owner without opening it. But the folder had partially come apart, revealing several old photographs. One image slipped onto the floor. Ethan picked it up and froze. The photograph showed a smiling little girl standing beside a young woman. The girl looked remarkably like his daughter Nora. The resemblance was so striking that it sent a chill down his spine. Curious and concerned, Ethan carefully examined the other contents. Inside were newspaper clippings, handwritten letters, and documents connected to a children's shelter that had closed more than 20 years earlier. Among the papers was a faded photograph of a teenage Serena volunteering at the shelter. There were also records showing that Serena herself had once lived there as a child before being adopted. Ethan felt a strange connection to the discovery. Nora often asked questions about helping other children who were less fortunate. Every holiday season, she insisted on donating toys and clothes. Looking through the folder, Ethan realized the shelter had once stood only a few miles from where his shop now operated. Days passed before Serena returned. When she finally arrived, Ethan noticed the same sadness in her eyes that he had seen on the first day. The repair was complete, but he hesitated before handing over the keys. Then he presented the folder. The change in Serena's expression was immediate. Her confident business persona vanished. For a moment, she looked like a frightened child who had unexpectedly found a piece of her past. Tears filled her eyes as she held the photographs. She explained that she had searched for those memories for years. During countless moves and business expansions, the folder had disappeared. She had assumed it was gone forever. As Serena sat quietly in the office, she began sharing parts of her story. Before becoming a successful executive, she had spent years in poverty. The shelter had been her refuge during the hardest period of her childhood. It was where she learned resilience, hope, and the importance of compassion. Many of the children she grew up with had never found permanent homes. Listening to her, Ethan realized that success had not erased her pain. Beneath the polished image of a billionaire CEO was someone who still carried old wounds. A week later, Serena returned unexpectedly. This time she wasn't there for her car. She arrived carrying several boxes filled with documents and photographs. After recovering the folder, she had become determined to learn what happened to the children from the shelter. Her research revealed a heartbreaking reality. Many former residents were struggling, and some had fallen through society's cracks. The discovery haunted her. Together, Ethan and Serena began contacting local organizations. What started as a simple conversation inside a repair shop grew into something much larger. Serena committed a significant portion of her personal wealth to creating educational programs, housing assistance, and mentorship opportunities for former foster children. Ethan became one of the project's strongest supporters. His practical wisdom and community connections helped transform ideas into action. Nora joined volunteer events, inspiring adults with her kindness and optimism. Months later, the old shelter property was transformed into a modern community center filled with classrooms, counseling offices, and family support programs. Hundreds of people benefited from resources that had never existed before. At the grand opening ceremony, sunlight poured across the courtyard as families gathered to celebrate. Children laughed, parents smiled, and volunteers shared stories of lives already changing. Standing near the entrance, Ethan watched Serena speaking with former shelter residents. Many hugged her with tears in their eyes. The folder hidden inside an abandoned car had done more than reconnect her with forgotten memories. It had reopened a chapter of her life she had tried to leave behind and transformed it into a source of hope for countless others. Serena often said that success was not measured by how much a person earned, but by how many lives they lifted along the way. Looking around that bright afternoon, Ethan understood exactly what she meant. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and share this video. Your support helps spread stories of kindness, hope, and second chances to people who may need them most. Special request, comment below with the word hope if you believe one act of kindness can create a ripple effect that changes lives forever. As the sun slowly set beyond the mountains, the community center glowed with warmth and laughter. A forgotten folder, hidden inside a luxury car, had led two strangers toward a purpose neither had expected. One was a mechanic carrying the quiet burdens of everyday life. The other was a CEO carrying the hidden scars of her past. Together, they proved that sometimes the greatest treasures are not money, success, or power. Sometimes, the greatest treasure is simply remembering where you came from and choosing to help someone else find their way forward. And in that choice, everything changed.